Sweet. So, Nikki, first and foremost, welcome to the podcast. I'm very excited to have you on. And in doing my research, I just want to start before we get into it. In doing my research for having you on, you you're like really strong. Like it was borderline. Like I was scrolling through your lifts and like trying to read captions and stuff that you were putting out, and I was getting intimidated watching the videos. I was like, I can't. It's like that's a lot of weight.
Like which part though? Which part was intimidating? The
Um,
weight, the technique, the
I think
sport.
I think the celebration afterwards as like a wrap up of something just kind of put the nail on the coffin for me, and I was just okay. Like, ooh, yeah, no messing around. So
Is
yeah,
it is it aggressive? Like I was having this conversation with my girlfriend today, and I said, sometimes when I celebrate a lift, I feel like I'm just kind of angry, but I'm not angry, but like,
yeah,
but I am, but I'm not. But I'm just like, that's my reaction to every lift that like is a successful lift. And I'm
yeah.
just like, but that was such a good lift, you know?
Yeah, and I think it like completes what it is. Like there's a dynamic movement, and then all of a sudden the celebration is like it's a battle cry, as I refer to
Yeah.
it, right? And
Yeah.
so I'm just, yeah. Anyways, I just want to share that with you before we get into it. So take us through so people kind of get to know a bit about who you are. Take us through from your transition leaving post-secondary to where we are now, and then we can kind of come full circle.
Sure. Post-secondary, let's see. Well, before we go to that, when I was younger, I envisioned myself as either working with children, a police officer, or a marine biologist.
Nice.
Out of the three, the marine biologist was kind of like, maybe that's a little too far-fetched for me. Post-secondary, I got accepted to early childhood education. So that is my field of career right now. I've been working with Peel District School Board. September will be 10 years.
Mhm.
I work with 30 kindergarten students.
Gross.
Your expression, why the expression?
The expression just kind of, I put myself in your shoes for a brief second and I go, oof, geez, it's
Yeah,
just me
yeah,
responsible for them.
yeah.
And I don't know
And
about that.
I get that a lot. I get
Mhm.
that a lot based on, I guess, probably the dynamic right now, especially with COVID.
Mhm.
I think people um, give us they put us on a different pedestal now
Right.
because with COVID, having to wear masks and having to send children home if they have like a cough or like
Mhm.
something so small. I think the dynamic of like the education, and I probably speak for a lot of educators, it's changed over the last 2 years.
Right.
So I'm still, I've been teaching kindergarten, but I'm kind of growing out of that right now. So I am in the process of being a police officer.
Amazing.
Yeah,
Amazing. That's
it's
exciting.
been a slow process because in 2019 I kind of did the whole process, went from A to Z, and I didn't get on. To be honest, it's a little defeating.
Mhm.
Sorry, there's like a hair in my face.
No worries.
Welcome to live podcast. Uh, it is defeating because you revisit the whole hiring process
Right.
and you're thinking, I'm in my mid 30s, I'm minority, I'm bilingual, I have a career in education, I've been a part of a community for X amount of years.
Mhm.
What did I do wrong? Or what am I missing?
Right.
And the part of that that's defeating too is you can't apply after a certain amount of time
Huh.
until you redo it again. Yeah. So depending on where I failed, some services won't even accept you.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because
Interesting.
let's say something got flagged in your psychology test, you can't even apply to any other service. Yeah, so that was the hard part of accepting that because I went from, like I said, from A to Z in the interview, did past everything, and then not being able to be told what went wrong.
Mhm.
How am I not a candidate?
That's frustrating.
It's very frustrating
Jeez.
because, especially like, I'm not getting any younger. Like, let's face it, I'm like in my mid 30s, trying to figure
Yeah.
out my life here, So a lot of people actually that are probably going to listen to this
Mhm.
probably don't know this, but then I kind of steered off in a different direction. And I said, you know what? I'm going to try to become a firefighter.
Nice.
Did that whole thing. Again, some information that I don't know or didn't know going into it is that if you fail like a rewrite of a test, we would get sent home. So halfway through, I got sent home.
Huh. Weird.
It is weird. And again, like taking my L's here at this point, I'm kind of like,
Yeah.
okay, I'm trying to just be a part of a service. I'm trying to be involved in a community. Like,
Right.
what is wrong? So I finally got a little bit of information from other people. And I said, you know what? I'm going to take a course. I'm going to see. Maybe they're trying to tell me that I've been out of school for so long, because if you think about it, I'm almost 34. I haven't been in a high school or post-secondary since 2010, 2009.
Yeah.
So I said, I'm going to take a course. Fuck it. Do it. Let's
Nice.
fucking prove these people wrong,
Yeah.
because
Hell yeah.
you can still learn at 33,
Mhm.
And I did that. I took a mental health course. Basically, this course, I can get certified in emergency response.
Whoa.
I didn't
Cool.
don't get it twisted. There's like 8 parts to it. I took the main part, like the
Yeah.
step 1,
Right.
just to show that I could learn, right?
Yeah.
What if I grew a disability that I don't know? What if I'm delayed in something and I don't know that?
Right.
I just needed to see it. So I took this course. Glenn, let me fucking tell you,
We
I
know.
fucking got an A fucking plus.
Let's go. Let's
Like,
go. Damn
so,
right.
okay. So I can learn, I can put it out there.
Mhm.
What the fuck?
Right. Nothing's holding you
So
back now.
exactly. So I am in the process. I went back into police. I'm kind of in the middle of with a service right now. So I'm hoping that's at this point, to be honest, if the fire service takes me, I'll take it. Police takes me first, I'll take it. Right now, I could
Mhm.
go either or. Would
Nice.
you say either or, either or?
Either one. Whatever works for you. You know. I will not
Anyway,
correct you, I promise.
I didn't know if you were like a word nerd or something. But yeah, so that's kind of where I'm at. Currently, I do stuff on the side. I take pictures for the Weightlifting Association in Ontario, by the name of Captured in Kilos, which that's
Nice.
where I met you.
Yeah, amazing.
We
You
met at a
were working.
competition. I was working, yeah,
Yeah.
and I've gotten a lot of compliments, a lot of feedback on it, and it's something that I enjoyed doing when I was actually in high school, because I took photography.
Yeah.
But it's something I just love. I'm always at a competition. I want people to see their celebration lifts. I want them to see their failed attempts. I want them to see like their coaches behind them. I want them to see
Mhm.
the crowd. I want them to know or remember that moment. And I think it's important, especially for weightlifting, that they remember like the good and bad of a
Right.
competition.
And we'll dive into Captured in Kilos in a bit and kind of how that all started in a bit for sure. But what I wanted to say about it in regards to how you've been doing it, it's gotten not just obviously a lot better, because that's how it happens when you grow something, right? Like if it wasn't
Right.
getting better, be like, well, what are we
Yeah.
doing? But
Yeah.
I was telling our good friend Pat about this a couple of weeks ago, where it's like the photos to me are better in the way of you're telling a story in them, right? Like you said, it's not just, oh, this is the weight that's being moved. It's like you said, like there's a fail, there's a success, there's like the community, the relationships with the coach to athlete, and
Right.
all that stuff that you're able to share, and that is captured in the photo. Yeah,
Yeah.
anytime. Hero week. And that's what I see in those photos, and to me that's what draws me in, because I'm very picky when it comes to what I like and what I don't, especially in terms of media, and storytelling for me trumps everything. And being able to do that without editing, that's just like in the moment, is incredible. So I just want to kind of compliment that before we get into it.
Well, thank you. I I try my best to not do too much on the photo,
Mm,
because I think it's, once someone pays for their photo and I edit the way I want it to be, you can
mhm.
do whatever the fuck you want with them. I don't care.
Yeah.
It's your photo, right?
Right.
Um, but I always, like you said, from the day I started, comparing those photos from the now, completely different. Like,
Mhm.
I'm learning every time, every session I do, when I'm playing around with my camera, I'm learning something different all the time.
Nice. So let's back it up a bit. When did you get in? When and kind of how did you get into, and I've been corrected about this before, Olympic weightlifting? Because I've said powerlifting, and Pierce and Marcello looked at me and were like, what? It's not
It's
powerlifting.
not.
It's Olympic weightlifting. And I was like, all right, I'm sorry. So yeah, how did you how and when did you first get into it?
So funny you say that. I get more of the bodybuilding than powerlifting.
Really
Yeah. And you know what? It's to the
interesting.
naked eye, right? Like, some people just don't know the difference. And at this point, I can't even get mad about it anymore. I just think that people just don't know. Weightlifting for me started 2015, and I was coming from CrossFit. So my husband, John, he's a very decorated master's athlete.
Amazing.
And there was a point where we were doing CrossFit, and I was like, I'm just not getting stronger. Like, my snatch number is the same, my clean and jerk is the same. I can squat heavy, but I want the lifts to look good. I want
Right.
them to look pretty. I have
For
this thing
sure.
about making lifts look beautiful. And he's like, just try weightlifting. And I was
Nice.
like, ugh, I don't know if I really want to do that. Like, just looks hard. Like,
Yeah.
it's too hard for me. I've come from the background of basketball, volleyball, rugby, the sports, right?
Yeah.
But this fitness atmosphere, I was like, oh, maybe CrossFit's just my lane. He's like, just try it. I'm not even going to tell you to
Nice.
commit to it. Just try it. So
Amazing.
the first day, this club doesn't exist anymore, but then it was Creek Barbell Club. Went in, whole squad was there. The number that I couldn't lift ever, like, alone, I did it for doubles.
Let's
Like,
go.
like,
Let's
it was like,
go. I
it
love
was
it.
like pristine
Yeah.
technique. The
Just
snap was
clean.
there. It was so fucking
Let's
clean.
go.
And
Nice.
then I was like, so fuck CrossFit. I'm gonna fucking do weightlifting.
Nice.
And then since then, now CrossFit's just one of those things. Like, if someone wanted to do a comp, we'll do a comp
Hmm.
just for fun.
Right. Because you can.
Um, because I can, right?
Yeah.
Now weightlifting is just the focus. Going back to the previous topic is I do have to do some conditioning in terms of police, but
Mhm.
otherwise weightlifting, I'm training 5 days a week. So since
Nice.
2015, my first comp was actually 2016 at the pro show. Since then, I haven't looked back.
Wow. So you've kind of
Yeah.
always been involved in like stuff that's athletic or physical, right? It was just
Yeah.
out of nowhere. You're like, I'm gonna do weightlifting. And then
Yeah.
interesting. Is that like
Actually,
from like growing up or
here's the fun fact. I'll give you a little bit of history with
let's go.
my
Nice.
health. um, for me, I'm like 5 feet, giving myself some leeway. I'm really like 4'11". Let's just I gained a lot of weight after I got my braces removed in high school.
Interesting.
And it was really important for me to be healthy, because I've always been that way
Right.
growing up. So I joined rugby from like 10th grade, 11th grade, and 12th grade, just for the conditioning part of it. And so since then, that's the only time I played rugby, but basketball and volleyball were my two main sports. So I've always come from that athletic background. Now, the fitness, like lifting aspect, did not come until, I don't know, like, I know you're from Sudbury, right?
Yes.
Like, the physical education part for us, we were required to do this fitness part in health. Like, did you
Yeah.
guys have that in high school? Yeah, so
Yeah.
we
Something
did
similar.
too. Right. I didn't have any interest whatsoever to be lifting a barbell. Like, I was like, hell no,
Zero.
I'm not lifting that. Like, no, I'm just gonna go on the treadmill and just like run, you know, like
Epic. Yeah.
I was that person. And here I am like, well, I'd rather just lift the bar over my head versus deadlifting. Or I have nothing against powerlifting. I respect powerlifters. I respect bodybuilders. I respect all the whole sport of fitness and the whole industry. But to me, weightlifting is it's beautiful. I think it's
Mhm.
such a beautiful sport.
There is a fluidity and finesse to moving the weight cleanly, right?
Isn't that what you said? Like you were mentioning that when you were at the comp that we met at, and you
Yeah.
were just looking at people like, how are these people like lifting the weight?
Yeah, it was weird. And then because the day before was the first time I ever actually like took it seriously enough to try it like seriously while I was doing it, right?
You
At
tried it?
yeah. So I had okay, so this is my I don't think I've shared this on the
I'm
show, but
intrigued by this now.
I think you'll get a kick out of it. So Patty and I are going up, right? And we went for Friday night, Saturday night, and then we drove back Sunday morning to Sudbury. It was like a first idea to see how we would like our first year friend anniversary, as I'd say as Pat's called it, but like
Oh,
we
that's
called it.
sweet.
Yeah, it's adorable. But anyways, we hung out and we're driving, and then he's like, "We're gonna train," and I was like, "Okay." I think it was called Apex, right?
Yep, yep, yep.
So amazing. So he's like, "We're gonna train," and I was like, "Whatever it is, just I'm there. I'm along for the ride. Open mind, opens doors, and all that."
Yep,
So
I
he's like,
like
"Okay, we'll
that.
do it." And we show up. It's like 6 o'clock, and then we go and we're doing like they do their sessions. I think it's like from I don't know what it was, but from like 6 to 7:30 was a class, I think. And I'm just like eyes wide open. I'm like drinking water. I got chalk on. I'm like, let's do this, boys and girls. And I'm looking around and I'm like, okay, this is great, you know. And we're going through it. And then after the guys from the Sudbury weightlifting club and I go out to eat. So Pat, myself, and then the group of them that were there, we go out to eat and I shared this and they're like, yo, he was like, you know who that is, right? And I'm just like, I'm like just blinded by all, I'm like, whatever. I'm just lifting weights to me. Like people are people to me, right?
Right.
So it's like awesome. But then they were kind of sharing the story about like Nikkie and his dad and all that. And I was like, that was them. And I was like, oh, all right, cool. Well, he complimented me for being a quick learner. He's like, you learn fast. And I was like, thank you, sir. Tip my hat in your direction. So he shared that with me and they're like, that's great. So then Pat told me more about what it was and what we were going to do tomorrow and who they were. And then kind of that was my introduction into it, was
Okay.
that weekend. So other than just
Oh,
seeing,
you fully like pat through you like in
oh
the
yeah,
water. You either sink or swim,
oh yeah,
basically.
fully immersed, I'll call it. And so I think that was
Great
what
friend
happened.
there. That's a great
Yeah.
friend.
Oh, I was loving it. It was a blast. I still like tell people about it to this day. I'm like, this is an interesting time. But yeah, I
If
learned a
you were
lot.
to rate,
And
if you're to rate like
oh god.
weightlifting
Okay.
and what you learned
Mhm.
from one being like, I could never do this again, don't make me do this,
Yeah.
or like a 10, I'm willing to
Like I'm competing
learn.
tomorrow.
Exactly. Like
Okay.
put your fucking knee sleeves on and let's fucking go. Like
Knee
where would
sleeves.
you be? Knee sleeves.
Probably like a 7.
Oh,
No,
okay.
without saying 7, because 7's a very cop out answer. I'll go an 8. Because everyone's like, oh, between 1 and
Pat,
10,
I
and they're
hope
like
you're gonna
7.
listen to this so that this guy right here is going to compete his first weightlifting meet
That'd be
this
insane.
year or next year.
Or next year. That'd be one on the list, I think, like as like an athletic challenge, a physical thing. I think it was very cool to see the training, and it was very, very, it was fun at the end of the day. And the
Yeah.
community of the people was, I've been thrown into a lot of communities like that, like in different sports, and I found
Mhm.
some are very hostile, like some are very like timid and stuff to be around, but not the Olympic weightlifting one. And so
Yeah, it's always
that
a
was,
vibe.
yeah, it was awesome to see. So it's like, I'm just laughing. Like, why am I laughing so
Yeah,
much? Like, what's
because
going on here?
weightlifting is fun. Weightlifting is fun.
It's, it looked like a blast, and it was for the little bit that I did. But what I want to know, when you, what's something that you've learned throughout the course of your weightlifting career so far that you would like share to people as a reason of why you should get into it? As a woman, we'll speak on, not just in general.
Oh man, you're just going straight for the jugular, eh? Okay. So being female, for one, the sport alone, I think many women fear of getting bulky.
Mm,
Let's go with that first.
sure.
Um, which I think not everyone has the knowledge of. There's bulky and there's strong.
Right.
Um, for me, what I learned is that anyone could be good at something. Like if you put your time into it, you first, when you will learn and you are patient with it, you'll get what you work for.
Mhm.
And in the X amount of years that I've been doing this, I think the struggle for me was, yes, because I came from CrossFit, it was easier to transition because there are two main lifts that are in CrossFit that you can transition into weightlifting.
Right.
But for me, was wanting the results faster and not trusting the program or trusting this is how many times you should train a week. If you want results, you can't not do your presses because nobody likes pressing overhead. Like all your accessory work is just as important as like the lifting part, right?
Right.
And I think it's hard to just take the sport and break it down that not every day is always going to be fucking snatching heavy today. We're maxing out our clean and jerk. It's not always like that. We got to break down the lifts. That for me was hard because you had to understand the sport that way.
Yeah.
And um, a lot of my friends that know, I was injured literally 2 years ago. Um, Coming off from another injury, like in 2017, I was in a car accident. I was T-boned. So my recovery's been on and
Oh,
off, like the
geez.
worst couple years of just recovery. So when I get a small win, to me, that's like a big deal. Like, so when you ask me today, like, hey, how's your day? I'm like, dude, it's a good fucking day. Like,
Yeah.
so I think what people have to understand, especially women, the sport of weightlifting is not about what you look like. It's about being healthy. It's about being stronger, accepting that you might just not be good at it right when you start. It's just like anything when you learn something new. And I think you also have to be in that mindset of like what you said, coming in with an open mind.
Yeah.
I might not look good as Pat, like
Oh,
not everyone can look like Pat, but I kind of want to look like Pat,
yeah.
right? Like, so there's always, I think everyone has to think that there's a small goal and you can't just want everything at full 100.
Interesting. And one thing to that was, and I think it's how you feel, right? Like,
Oh, absolutely.
like
Yeah.
that over everything. Because that's the kicker for me, right? Like I've done like every sport under the moon or tried or attempted stuff and be like, while I'm playing or competing or training for this one specific thing, right? Whether that be Olympic weightlifting, jujitsu, swimming, hockey, basketball, soccer. It's like, what am I enjoying? When I'm in the thick of it and I'm not feeling good about my progress, am I still having fun? Like, am I still
Hmm.
enjoying like being around the people I'm being around? Like, how bad really are those bad days, right?
Yeah. And you're right. I try to remind myself, especially like for someone like me who is in the educational field, like it's kind of hard right now trying to balance like work and lifting and still trying to balance life in general.
Mhm.
To dig deep after like a 7.5 hour shift and going into another 90-minute session, it's a lot of mental state where you kind of have to wrap your head around like, hey, 90 minutes, you do the work. Now it's not about motivation. Now it's about discipline.
Right.
What do you want? Do you want to miss this workout and then just move on the next day? Well, no, we're not going to get better that way. And I try to tell people who are learning or that are getting into fitness right now, you have to enjoy the process even when it gets hard.
Mhm.
And I've been there. I've been through the hard of and the dark places of not being able to lift, not being able to run. The only thing you could do is walk for 15 minutes. I've been there. And being
Wow.
told that by a professional like physician saying your physical capability right now is walking. If you can walk for 15 minutes, you walk for 15 minutes. And
Jeez.
that was about 4 months of that. So take all the progress that I've had in the X amount of years, and then being told that you're not allowed to lift because you've had a grade 3 concussion, you have something wrong with your disc, your shoulder's messed up. Like there was just,
Jeez.
and it was just a whole hot mess. But you have to, I always think about that. There's always going to be a reason as to why are you working out? Why are you lifting? And for women, for us, we're our worst own critic. Like we
Yeah.
look at ourselves in the mirror and we're like, ooh, I need like different pants so that I can pull them up so that I look better. I hate the whole body image thing. I despise it
Mhm.
because I think that's where social media ruins us. And
Yeah.
I I get a lot of people saying, "Oh my God, I love how you look," or I want to do this. What are you eating if you're cutting?" And I'm like, "You have no fucking clue what it takes."
Yeah.
So you asking me these questions, unless you're willing to do it physically, mentally, emotionally, don't message me. Don't slide into my DMs asking me what my macros are. I don't count my macros. I eat properly.
Yeah.
Like there's so many different things that come with it, but women alone have to understand that being strong is really important physically, mentally, emotionally. Like it's such a big part of how we look at ourselves.
Hmm. And that's what I found was, and you're a good example of that, but with any women in the athletic communities, like with whether it be the MMA community that I'm currently in, or even just like the Olympic weightlifting one and stuff like that, there's a confidence to them that they have, that they exude as well, that you don't see at like some when you're just out seeing them in restaurants or talking. There's a disconnect
Mm-hmm.
from that, and they're kind of shy, they're to their self, where there's no, and not so much to say like display of violence, but they have a power of, they're not afraid of like a
Yeah.
confrontation or an interaction not going hunky-dory or anything.
Yeah.
And it's very, very, it's inspiring to see, because it's not just, and I say women, but I mean, that's, they exude that confidence more, and they
Mm-hmm.
don't have an arrogance to it that's just, oh, like they're just confident in it. Whereas men, it's very tricky, because it's, are they confident or arrogant?
Right.
Right, where I don't see that
Yeah.
blend happening easily with
You,
women.
you know what? Tell you the truth, doesn't matter how many times I've competed, whatever platform I'm competing on,
Mhm.
that first lift of a snatch, I'm fucking shitting my pants because this is make or break. Like if this
Mhm.
is gonna tell me if I'm gonna have a good
Yeah,
fucking
it
day.
sets the tone for the rest of the meet for sure.
100%. So let's say I make that lift, you bet your ass my confidence level is going up. And the moment I drop that barbell in front of me, we fucking go. You put weight on
Let's
that bar.
go.
Like,
Load
like,
it
so
up.
I think it's a big deal, especially like, because you asked about women,
Mhm.
it's important to walk that way. Like we have to be, you know what though, let me revert back. Some people that aren't exposed to this lifestyle, I
Mhm.
think they are more timid. I think
Right.
because they don't have the experience, they're not familiar with weightlifting, jujitsu, any sport. Sometimes they're familiar with only lifting at like a women's gym. And I think that's where the segregation happens because they don't want to be exposed, right?
Right.
Like I think that already alone, wherever, if it's Good Life, LA,
Yeah.
whoever started that, that's where it split us.
Yeah, I think it's that commercial side of the fitness industry, right? Where they're, oh, well, there's only men in this gym. How can we
Exactly.
diversify?
100%. Yeah.
Oh, like there was in Ottawa. So I went to Algonquin for 4 years, and there's College Square, right? And College Square on the campus, or right off of campus, sorry, is they have the top floor of, I think it's the Independent or the Metro, whatever, big grocery store, is the top floor of it is a Good Life for women.
Okay.
and it's always packed.
Yep. I
So I'm like,
believe it.
this is great, but yeah, it's trying to find a blend. But I blame dudes for that one, for why
Oh
it's kind of
yeah.
tougher,
I
right?
think especially like years ago, right? Like
Yeah,
the moment like a female walks into the gym, like heads are turning.
yeah.
Why is that? Why is that a thing? Like, why can't a female be in a male dominant sport? Like,
Hmm.
doesn't matter. Like, so I
Yeah.
feel that's where it kind of put us in that position of lacking confidence or not trying something new.
Or even being
But you know
so
what?
worried about how people look at you, right? Or like what people think of
Exactly.
you.
Yeah. Or like wearing certain things to the gym,
Hmm.
maybe not wearing like vibrant colors so that you don't stand out. Like, fucking
Yeah.
hate that shit. Like,
Yeah, I don't blame you. Yeah, it's
yeah.
no, it's a weird thing. But you mentioned it a couple minutes ago, and I kind of want to go back to it. You mentioned where discipline and motivation kind of separate.
Hmm.
So could you give me your definition for what you believe discipline is, and then give me your definition for what you believe motivation is? Because I'm very intrigued.
Oh, that is a good question. I'm gonna go with motivation first.
Perfect.
Think motivation for me alone, and this kind of goes, I don't know if I'm being like contradicting, but it goes back to like social media.
Hmm.
When you see celebrities, like I'm gonna use Dwayne Johnson for
Perfect.
example.
Great
Like he's a
example.
fucking rock. Like the size of his biceps is like my entire body. Okay.
It's ridiculous.
Right. But let's take his lifestyle for a second. He's this iconic male celebrity, but it doesn't matter what the fuck he's doing. He's taking 2 hours, 3 hours, however long he takes to work out, but it's a part of his day.
Hmm.
That to me, when I see someone with that lifestyle, that's motivating to me
Right.
because then you're like, do I want to sit on the couch and do nothing? Or do I want to take 30 minutes, 60 minutes for myself and get better at something?
Hmm.
So I look at social media for that reason, not to find motivation, but to seek like what can fire me up, like
Yeah.
what can keep my like head spinning in certain things. And I don't, to be honest, I don't even look at females because I think it could really balance. You'll
Hmm.
have your strong women, you have your strong men. It doesn't matter. It doesn't
Right.
matter what they are. Like I try to pick and choose different people's lifestyle. And I always ask myself, what's my excuse for not doing it?
Yeah.
Um, so that
Interesting.
to me is what motivation is when I just see other people that can have such a busy lifestyle, but they make it a part of their day.
Yeah.
And it's the highlight of like their week that they get to work out, you know?
Hmm.
And I find that there's always a reason to be motivated.
Right.
To me, my reason for being motivated though is because I want to be healthy. I
Yeah.
want to be able to lift things from the ground without hurting my back. I want to look healthy too. So that whole health part of it is my motivation.
Amazing. So, do you have a garage, you have a gym in your garage, right?
I
Like you
do.
have a
Yeah.
space? Yeah, damn right.
Yeah.
Nice. So, I say that because I have one as well. But every time and I'm sure this has happened to you from what you're saying, how you use social media as that motivator tool. Um, I'll be scrolling at like 10 o'clock at night. And this is what people don't get about the great part about having a gym so close to you, especially if
Hmm.
you're training like it's breakfast, where I'm scrolling and I see a bunch of people training and I'm like, I'm not doing anything but you on my phone. So I got to switch that up a bit and then I go train right away. I don't know if you've had
Yeah.
any, like if it's that quick of a motivation strikes, you're like, all right, I'm in.
Yeah. And you know what? Sometimes it's the complete opposite. Sometimes, when was it? I think it was about 2 days ago. And I knew that it was going to be a short workout. Like my
Hmm.
program said, you know what? This is a quick workout. It was clean position cleans, power jerks, and then rack jerks. All I had.
Epic.
I'm like, this is fast. You know what I did? I sat there on my phone for almost 2 hours and I'm like, what am I doing? Like,
No
I
way.
could have been done already.
Yeah.
That was like the complete opposite of what social media did to me. Didn't
Hmm.
find motivation, nothing like that. So I was like, oh my God, it's been 90 minutes. I need to mobilize. I need to get this done. So that to me, sometimes it does happen the other way, which after that instant though, I said, I can't do that again. That wasted 90 minutes of my time.
Yeah. You don't say. That's
Yeah.
that's good that you became aware of that though. Like you caught yourself. I mean, towards the end, and you're like, all right, we got to buckle down now.
Oh yeah. And I think social media does that to most of us, where we kind of get sucked in and then you're in that rabbit hole for so long and you're like, okay, it's only 10. And then you look up at the clock. Oh my God, it's fucking 11:30. Like,
Jeez. You're like, I gotta go to bed.
yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, geez. So now what would you say you would how would you define discipline then? Like what's that mean to you? Like a consistency part of it or just showing up?
I think both. The consistency part to me is you want to have to do it, right? Um, being disciplined is so challenging, even for someone that does it 5 days a week. For example, because we have a gym like yourself and myself in our garage, since COVID, I promised myself, do not take that for granted.
No.
Because there were so many people in our province that didn't have that gym access, where I'd walk down the basement into my garage and I have a gym. I don't have a reason to not work out other than if I'm like injured or what, sick, whatever. But since COVID, that's where my discipline is. People don't have the luxury of having a gym in their homes. People might not have the finances to afford a gym to go to. To me, it's my lifestyle. This is a part of who I am. I take 90 minutes, 120 minutes of my day because this is a time for me. This isn't about who I have to please or what I have to do. This is where I reset, and this is where I'm getting better. This is where I'm learning something. I'm all about growth, whether I have a great lifting day or if I have the worst day of my life. Either way, that's a time that I'm learning. And for me, that's enough for me. That's enough for me to come in, even if my quick workout is so fast, even though that 90 minutes was a waste of my time. It's enough for me to be there. It's enough for me to not, I don't even have to flick the switch anymore. It's just one of those things that the moment a certain time comes in the middle of the day, I start dressing up, I get my shit together, and I'm in the garage, like mobilizing. So it's about my lifestyle. It's about who probably wishes that they can lift and can't do it because of an injury or permanent injury. You just never know. So I always think about other people that probably wish to be where I am, health wise.
That's interesting, because I've had a handful of people, like I found as soon as the gyms, like on the most recent lockdown, I think it was beginning of January, there was a lot of like flack that was getting posted up, right? And my issue was everybody wants to create or display problems, but I like to have solutions. Right. I like to solve problems. And if I can't solve the problems because they pertain to myself, then that's where I reach out to my circle and go, hey, check me, because I gotta figure this out. So anyways, so
I like that, by the way.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, it's
thank
a
you.
good perspective.
Because I've found I'm very, very good at solving other people's issues, but I'm not very good at solving my own. Right.
I'm the same.
Right. So you need those people who are able to check you and make sure that, like, yo, listen, man, like you got to bring it down or be patient. That was what Pat told me the last time we talked about it. He's like, dude, like just slow down, man. And I'm like, yeah, you got to be calm doing this too. And like, so yeah, it's very important to have those people to be able to do that. But what I did was I was like, all right, listen, enough's enough. I'm done looking at all the problems. Like we all know it's closed and you can't go. So I'm like, I'll provide a solution. So I put it up and said, anybody who actually needs the gym, like a space to work out, for like a space to escape and just be in their own head and lift weights, fire me a message. We'll work something out. I have a space. I have weights. It's no crazy mecca, but like, you know,
Shit, you're
rubber
making it sound
mats.
like I should fucking do it. Can I get a membership? Like,
It's a good spot. Like punching bags,
yeah,
there's like TV, whatever. It's a bunch of, I mean, I know
yeah.
none of that is related to lifting, but anyways, yeah, that's so I have like a small amount of equipment, but barbell, squat rack, a couple 100 pounds worth of weights. That's all you really
Yeah.
need. So,
Well,
and
you know what?
it was
It's
crazy.
funny that you mentioned that, because the first time Pat actually came to our house, him and his friends Spencer and Sierra, the first thing Pat wanted to see was the gym, like where I
Epic. He
lift.
would.
Oh, it
He
was
would.
it was hilarious. So
Amazing.
he's like, I want to see where you lift. I was like,
Kid in a
sure.
candy
So
store.
went downstairs. He's like, all right, so where do you put your camera? Because like it's always the same angle. I'm like, bro, you don't even know about my angles
You
right
don't
now.
even
But
know about
but
my
I placed
angles.
my phone here. He's like, that's the spot.
It's the
So
spot, he
like
says.
it's interesting to see what people see outside,
Yeah.
because once they finally come into your gym, they're kind of like, hey, I see it on social media, but where does it actually, like, where does it reside? And it
Right.
was funny to me because I was like, dude, I have never had to answer that question before, but
That's
this is
awesome.
what it looks like.
Oh, that's fun. You guys both,
Yeah.
and I hope he hears this, but I tell him this often too. You guys both have better, way better lighting. That people are like, oh, why don't we see you working out in your gym? Like, because I'm not supposed, I don't hold my workouts accountable to like coaches or anything, right? Which I
Right.
know that's why he does it. So I'm like, I don't, and my lighting sucks, dude. If I'm being honest, like, there's no good reason. Like, I don't have any cool signs or like flags in the background, or like
Growth. We talk about growth. Maybe you need some decor. Like we got to get you some flags.
yeah, I get a captured in kilos flag and put it
Oh
on my,
shit.
yeah. If you do, I'll because that seems like a piece of merch that the weightlifting community loves, right?
Yeah,
Like the weightlifting house and stuff
flags.
like that. Yeah, flag. So I have a
It's
Canadian one,
it's
but
it's been in the works actually,
let's go.
silently.
Let's
It's
go.
been in the works. I just haven't figured out, because it's just white and the logo in the middle. I've been trying to see if I could rebrand it a little bit to kind of make it more
Interesting.
stand out. But because it's so classy, I kind of like that too. So I haven't really, I've been back and forth. Everything's got to look a certain way,
Yeah, it's
right?
got to be
So
primo.
yeah, and I did show Pat actually, because he is my ambassador.
Epic.
Um, I'm like, dude, what do you think? He's like, love it, do it. I'm like, dude, calm down, right? Like don't go full send just yet.
Let's go.
I need criticism. Give me something. He's like,
Yeah.
no, it's fucking good. I'm like, you're the worst. I can't have this. Like, but funny you say lighting. I
Yeah.
actually kid you not, I have this big ass ring light that's
Yes.
right in front of me,
Amazing.
because I've had people call me out and they're like, dude, your lifts are good, but I can't fucking see
We
you.
can't see you. I think they're good because I can read the caption, but
So I'm
oh,
like,
that's funny.
oh, now I got to invest in a light. So it's,
Yeah.
there's been times where people have called me out. So you know what? Maybe you need a ring light. I don't know. Flags. You need a ring light. You need flags. What else?
Yeah, I need a better, like, yeah, just things to cover the wall. It's bad. I'll like send you a video later of what it actually looks like, because I realized something. I have no videos and no photos of it. So when people are like, yo, Glenn's got a cool gym. Oh, you got a cool gym? Yeah, I just
Yeah, it
can't show.
doesn't
I can tell
exist.
you about it. I can tell you about it. It's real. Promise that. It's nice, good
Yeah.
space. It's mildly warm. But speaking of captured in kilos, tell me about how that got started. Like, what was that process like in the beginning? Take me through.
Oh man. So in the beginning, we talked about that I did photography in high school.
Mhm.
It was really just a hobby. Wasn't, you know, when you pick like an extra, I don't know, credit, I was like, yeah, photography. I'm gonna be
That
good
one.
at that shit. To be honest, I didn't think 15 years later I'd be going back into that. And like, oh my God, what did you learn in fucking Miss A's class? Like nothing, right? um, it started back in like 2018, 2019.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of played around with taking photos at a seminar that was held at Battlefield.
Okay.
I was like, you know what? I'm gonna see if I can kind of capture some pictures, especially for this USAW coach. He came here. So I'm like, hey, is it okay if I take some photos? I just kind of want to see if I still got it, you know? He approved it, all was good. Then I was like, okay, they're pretty fucking good. Like, I was like, I'm
Nice.
not tooting my own horn, but you still got something. And then I fucking tossed that shit. Like, I was like, it was great. It was fun. Loved it. Edited. Great. Nothing happened after that. And then I went to Orlando to compete in a competition last year, 2022. Yeah, 2021. And I just saw how people were involved in capturing pictures.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, man, there are so many people here that are about media. Nobody does that here. Like,
Oh God, no.
I think there were a few that tried it out and then it was unsuccessful. But why couldn't we do that? Like, I was kind of like, why can't anybody do it? So I played around with the idea. I wanted to know more about the legal part of it. What do I need? How do I get people involved without the 1 or 3 people that are like, I don't want to be in the background photo? And after a few discussions with the president of OWA, he's like, you got to write a waiver form. You have to put XYZ and make sure that you basically cover your ass.
Smart.
And to be honest, the first competition I did was at provincials. And kid you not, the lighting was so bad. Talk about editing.
Yeah.
I was like, how the fuck do I edit this shit? Anyway, but they fucking loved it. Like, everybody that was a part of that day, they're like, your photos are great. Like, some photos could have been a bit better, but mind you, I literally had just bought a new camera. I fully went full in. Like,
Let's
I
go.
invested
Nice.
in the camera and
Smart.
all the fucking shit you need with it. And I said, it's either gonna make or break, right? I'm never gonna know until I try it.
Yeah.
I don't know, 7 competitions now. I'm like, it's getting better.
Yeah.
When Pat was one of the first people that was involved at provincials, and the thing about Pat, he's just such a positive guy, right?
Yeah.
So I
love
wasn't
it.
like sure if he's just trying to like give me all these compliments and like tell me, I'm like, dude, I don't know, man. Like, you just tell me all the photos are fucking good all the time. I don't believe you at this point. But then I'm looking at them, I'm like, you know what? They are pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, and I said, you know what? I should just do it. I should just commit. Maybe not all competitions, but if I know that there might be new lifters, youth lifters, people that have never done weightlifting,
Yeah.
that want pictures. Sometimes some people have never had updated photos of them coaching. So that's another window I opened up, coaching photos during like a meet. So actually the masters competition that's coming up next week, I have a athlete that's also a coach because he's coaching about 6 athletes,
Oh,
but
no
he's
kidding.
also lifting. So I said, in your package, do you want you lifting or just you coaching? I'm like, you could do both. And he's like, let's do both. I'm
Amazing.
like, perfect. So I like that I can open up this to the coach as well. So I actually did this with the comp that happened at Winchell that Pat was in, with LPS Athletic, Clance Layler and his athlete Maya. They were like the duo that, like, Spencer and Pat, we all know those two, but this was a duo that I had the pleasure of taking photos for, because you hear the leg slaps, you hear the voices from the crowd, but you don't see it when you're in the, like, being where you are. But I got to experience that.
No.
So every time I look at these photos, I hear Clance like saying like legs, or like slapping the shit out of Maya's like legs, and she's just like nonchalant about it.
Yeah.
But here I am like, man, I remember that moment. Like, you know. So it's great. I love it. I think it's something that I can express, like we talked about, like people's expression and like their lifting, good or bad. There was a photo I sent to Pat when he ordered his pictures from Winterlift, and it was literally the barbell was floating and he's on the platform laying down. And I was like, dude, did you see that picture I put in your gallery? And he's like, which one? I'm like, I don't remember what it was, but like, you didn't make the lift. And he's like, but he posted it and he's like, bro, that is a wicked picture. And it could be a good lift or a bad lift, but some people just like the actual picture, right? So
yeah, it tells a unique story that
yeah.
you kind of, and that was something that I'm actually, so I have a good friend of mine who I actually, like, we just became friends, but we had one really good mutual friend and mentor between the two of us. So when he made the connection, it was like instant friendship, right?
Mhm.
And so,
That's the only way.
right, it's the best way too. And so anyways, he was talking to me about the marketing aspect of running the summer camp that he was doing and the challenges he has. And one thing that he's been talking to me about, because they have to post photos, but all the photos were like really, really bad. And he's like, look at this. And I'm like, oh, it's not good. And he's like, yeah, they're just scanned in
Mhm.
photos and then published
Wow.
like on banners. And I'm like, oh, you can't be doing. He's like, there's no emotion. It's like, he's like,
Yeah,
look at this photo. He likes this photo. It's shot upwards of kids on a rock climbing wall. He's like, why are we looking at kids'
that's not
butt from
okay.
15 feet away? You can't even see them.
You might
Like,
get in shit for that, just
oh,
letting you know.
100%. And so I'm like, dude, we gotta, I'm like, he's like, yeah, it's not good. But it's, so we touched on the point of capturing that emotion
Mhm.
in those moments and telling those stories. And that's something that I think you've done very well in the last
Thank
few
you.
meets. Yeah, absolutely. That
Yeah,
I
it
really
has.
got a kick out of. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's coming November will be a year, surprisingly, actually, because I was like, shit, I don't know where this thing's gonna go. If I can just spend $3,000 on this shit, and I have no idea. But I actually have really good friends now in Orlando that are both photographers that do weightlifting meets. So
Amazing.
they've helped me a lot. Just the past comp, actually, I was messaging one of them and I was like, so how do you like do this? Like, which part do I change? And like, she was very responsive. And
Amazing.
honestly, YouTube, you can fucking learn anything off YouTube.
It's crazy.
But like community, because you get to know people and what they do as well,
Mhm.
it's easy to just ask, be like, you know what, we have the same camera, can you tell me how to do this, whatever. And she was
Yeah.
so helpful. So, and another thing, that's something I'm always learning every meet. Maybe change my angles for this lifter, maybe get different warm-up lifts. Like, so I always try to, I get a lot of OG people like that have always purchased from the very beginning,
Mhm.
which I absolutely love. Like, I
Yeah.
appreciate their support, but I also don't want the same photos, right? So that's the part that I'm noticing where I get that I'm
Ah,
challenged with, because
interesting.
I've done maybe 1 or 2 or 3 sessions with this athlete,
Mhm.
but I can't have them with the same photos. So that's the thing that I've learned in the last couple months doing it.
Interesting. That's pretty cool. Like, that's a cool
Yeah.
thing because, yeah, now you have to, it puts the hiatus on you to get creative,
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
right?
But how creative can you get in lifting though, right? Like,
Yeah.
like you're warming up,
Yeah.
you're putting knee sleeves on, thumb tape, drinking water,
Yeah.
like
Chalk. That's
chalk.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I see what you mean. There's almost,
Mm.
and I think I was telling you guys this when I was at the one meet, but the celebrations, they got to be better for everybody listening in the weightlifting community. You got to get a better, you guys got to celebrate a bit more like creative with it, right? If you hit your, like, I would be saluting, bowing, like wiping my feet, like doing some shuck and jive, like anything,
Wiping your feet.
just get creative, get fun, like have fun with it. There's, yeah,
Yeah.
there's a lot of
There are
seriousness,
some
but I'm
yeah, you know what?
but
I think we're trying to get better. I think we are. Um we've been talking about Pat here and there throughout
mhm.
this entire podcast, but Pat's one of the people that has the best celebrations.
I
Like,
love it. Yeah.
he's about it, right?
Yeah.
And I remember one of his lifts, I think maybe he had 2 attempts left in like the clean and jerk, and he's sitting in the back and I'm here like taking photos, right?
Yeah.
And he's just like, weightlifting is fun. Like, it's dead silent. And I'm like, why can't everybody be like that? Like, why can't people just enjoy it, you know?
Yeah.
And I try to do that for me as an athlete.
Yeah.
Like, maybe not so like hardcore like Pat does with his fucking like punches in
Yeah.
the air.
16 punch combos.
You know?
Like, it's
But
funny.
I'm trying to get, I think that's again goes back to the part where we mentioned the confidence thing, right? I think
Mhm.
that has a lot to do with being confident in yourself as an athlete.
Mhm. Now, why tell me about, because I'm curious and I haven't had a chance to ask him about this, but why Pat with the ambassadorship? Like, tell me about that process because I'm really curious.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. Actually, I think I've only had maybe two people ask me that. So over the years, especially in my car accident, as I told you earlier,
Hmm.
I've changed my mindset a little bit. I always try to look at anything in every perspective,
Right.
um, good or bad. I always try to either tread lightly and understand versus listening and responding.
Hmm.
Um, Pat was one of those people I've never even met. Like, it was a social media kind of thing. Like, we kind of had mutual friends, like you mentioned a few minutes ago. Until we actually met, I was like, man, this guy has a good vibe. Like, he's
Yeah.
got good energy. And then, sometimes you meet somebody and they're not who they are on social media.
Yeah. It's a risk.
It's exactly like that.
Yeah.
I honestly thought Pat was like a quiet guy. Complete opposite. That guy fucking threw me over the roof, and I was like, hold on a second.
Hmm.
You're fucking good times. Like, that's
Yeah.
basically the impression I got. And when he was one of the first people that believed that this could be a thing. So he was one of the first people in that provincials group that purchased, because I really lowballed how much it was. It was like $35 for like 10 plus photos. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And from that day, he's never bought like packages. And yes, and he says it to me all the time, I'm just supporting you. I love that you're trying to make the community better by upgrading photos and whatnot.
Absolutely.
But then as soon as like time went on and I got to know him, I think people need to see that this sport is, yes, we joked about it, like weightlifting is fun,
Hmm.
but people need to see that this intimidation of weightlifting can actually be a positive thing.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I think Pat's a great representation of the sport. Not only like, I don't know if anybody who will listen to this has even met Pat, but even when he doesn't know anybody that's lifting on the platform, he's one of the voices that is out there. He
Hmm.
doesn't even he doesn't even know who they are. He's supporting it. And
Amazing.
I think that's a great way to even boost confidence to whoever's lifting. Some people might not like that, but I feel like just a voice in the weightlifting community, Pat's been great at it. And there was a comp that he didn't do well in last year,
Oh, yeah.
and he was trying to qualify for
Remember that
provincials,
one.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember him being like upset about it, but he was like happy upset, like, here I am thinking, man, if that were me, I'd be like fucking eating myself alive, right?
Hmm.
But he was like, no, I'm gonna do it, and we're gonna go after it. And he came to Battlefield, and he fucking had the session of his time. And it just shows that you could literally be knocked down in the important meet that you're trying to qualify for another meet,
Hmm.
but then do so much better in another competition that you probably didn't even expect to do well. And he didn't even know anybody at Battlefield that time. I just said, dude, come this day, we'll get you to provincials.
Nice.
Best meet. So going back to your question, Pat's just a really good representation of what a positive energy is, what growth can look like in the sport for someone that's trying, that's a new athlete. I think when they see Pat and they see his story, like his photos, they're like, why is he so happy all the time? That's just Pat,
That's
right?
how he
So
is. Yeah.
why don't I want that? I want someone that brands that positive energy especially as a new business.
Yeah.
That's everyone's dream, right?
Amazing. I love that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
And I know
Yeah.
you guys have only been friends for like 2 years, you said?
Oh, not even. Well,
Not
yeah.
even.
Yeah, I think no, I think it was about
Yeah.
a year when we met, like when I met you,
Okay,
which was
yeah.
like
So
4 months ago, 5 months ago.
right. And
So yeah.
from that time, Pat and I've only known each other 3-4 months maybe,
Oh
but have
wow.
been following each other on Instagram for a
Mhm.
while. Never like actually hug out with him, but like he came
Interesting.
just to watch the meet. I was like, you're just here to like watch, you're not
Yeah.
competing, and you brought your friends with you. Like,
Yeah.
this is amazing.
It's
Like,
hilarious.
yeah.
Yeah, it was a blast. And I think to that, what I found really interesting, but that's how we connected as well. So I from the beginning of 2020, I posted just one joke every day, right? And every day Pat would consistently respond to it, but I had no idea because I didn't follow him, because he followed me through the podcast from another guy we know together.
Okay.
So through 3 different people and the power of social media, he like messaged me about one of the episodes I did. He's like, dude, I loved it, blah, blah, blah. And then I was like, who's this guy? Like, so I was on it when I got a message from him. I was like, this is weird. So I was like, this dude's hilarious. Like, why
Yeah.
not? So, and then I was like, yeah, man, come on the show, we'll chew the fat. And then, yeah, I've been friends ever since, I guess. So, yeah, it's
Yeah.
pretty cool to see. So,
And I think individually, not I'm saying this because I like to be a realist as well, that
mhm.
there are a lot of bad people in this world.
Yeah,
And when you meet someone like Pat,
mhm.
the world can fucking use more Pat,
100%.
like,
Yeah,
and I think that's a great way, especially social media is a great way to show him off that way. And
right.
like he's fucking good times, like taking pictures
Yeah,
of him and Spencer. I'm here fucking shaking in my camera. I'm like, no, you need this lift, Nikki. But it's always so fun because he makes it fun. He's maybe like too loud for other people, but I love it. I love the energy.
yeah,
There's never like a boundary with him in weightlifting. Like,
mhm.
he shows up and he shows up to people that he's a fucking athlete, and that's what I want on my like behind captured in kilos.
Amazing. I'm really excited to see how it like grows, especially
Yeah.
too, like that's what I'm really excited for that journey
Yeah.
and for that process. So as we kind of wrap up, what I'd like to know, do you have any kind of concluding lesson or experience or statement that you'd like to finish with, or advice that you received that's kind of stayed true to this day?
Uh, yeah, we kind of briefly talked about it earlier, but I think, as doesn't matter, male, female, whatever you represent yourself as, you got to be patient. Be patient with the journey that you're on. Like I said, if it's easy, maybe there's something you're doing wrong. Because I think the moment it gets hard, that's where people take a step back. And to me, when it's hard, you're working. And I think that's where you're like, you know what? It's supposed to be heavy, or it's supposed to be a struggle,
Yeah.
but that's where we're growing. So I think what I want people to take out of this is, whatever sport you're in, you're going to have good days, you're going to have bad days, but both days you're learning something. Take whatever
Interesting.
small win you get from those days, good or bad. Know that that's a part of your process. That's a part of where your journey is. And you're not going to have the same path as everybody else. Take what you can get in your 90-minute sessions, your 1 hour sport that you play, and fucking enjoy it. Enjoy the good, enjoy the bad, and enjoy the hurt that you get out of it, because everyone has a goal. The way we get there, it's all different, but the main purpose of it is achieving it. You achieve it. That's it. Like, you just got to do it.
Amazing. Couldn't have said it better myself. That's, that's
Well,
awesome.
thank you.
Yeah, you're very welcome. So, Nikki, I'm really grateful you were able to share your time, share your story, and teach me some things and stuff over the course of this podcast. So now the red carpet's yours. Where can people find you?
Oh, where can people find me? Oh, that question. Instagram normally would be just my name, Nikkie Quero, or captured in kilos with captured.in.kilos on both on Instagram.
Amazing. Right on. Well, thank you very much today for doing the podcast, and I'm looking forward to the feedback from it, and yeah, chatting with you some more in the future.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for having me. I enjoyed it.
Amazing. You are very welcome.